Yeah, there's a lot of assumptions made about what students are seeing, right? And what they're engaging in when they're on these social media sites. And certainly the advertising tricks are not new. They've been around forever. It's just the difference is that they're constantly connected. And so they're constantly getting fed this information. And there's algorithms that are meant just to tailor to what they're viewing and continues to feed that to them.
You're listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Oakes. This is our District Talk segment where we interview district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media so those students can someday shine online. Now, let's get back to the interview.
Hello, I'm Leanne Wentzel, Superintendent at Ridley School District, which is in suburban Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We have about 5,800 students in 9 school buildings in 7.75 square miles of space.
Hi, my name is Jamie Pena. I'm an assistant principal at Ridley High School. We're home to about 1,900 students and around 135 teachers.
Amazing. It's wonderful to have both of you here today from both a district leader standpoint and also, I'm going to tell you, your boots on the ground, which I love because you're listening to students, you're hearing what's going on, you're working with the counselors, you're working with the teens, and we're making sure that everything's working in this organization that builds resilient students and gets them ready for the real world. So I'm really excited both of you are here supporting smartsocial.com as we keep students safe on social media so they can someday shine online. I've got a series of questions for you here today, and I want to ask the superintendent here first. Over the last 6 to 24 months, a couple years, what's the biggest accomplishment that you see that your district has made?
What we've been able to do in that time period is really move our programs forward. So academically, we had COVID interrupt us, I would like to call it, that we had a period of time where we weren't able to continue with some of the things we had planned. And now that we've been able to pick those things back up and continue on.
Yeah, that's terrific. Assistant principal, I'd love to hear from you. What's one of your biggest achievements over the last couple years? I know we're coming out of COVID. I know we could all talk about that a lot, but I think we're also looking more positive. What's something separate from COVID you think you've been able to do that's exciting in your school?
So I think continuing to move forward, build relationships with our students, re-engaging our students and finding new opportunities to do so, really going out into our community and building relationships with our local businesses and certainly bringing them into the fold and getting our kids excited about coming to school every day. And it's not just our kids, right? It's also our staff, our faculty. Building that culture of resiliency is so important. And I think one of the greatest things we've done so far is just re-engaging our students in school life and our school community.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you mentioned resilience, and then you're alluding to a relationship. That culture is so important. Great work. My next question that I have for you, assistant principal, I'm actually going to dive into you here just for one sec. My biggest question is, how is your school using technology or resources to enhance student learning and engagement?
Yeah, so we were doing this for a long time. We've had one-to-one initiative, Miss Wenzel, probably what, 15,
2013.
2013. So we've been in the game for a long time. And when we're talking about technology in the classroom, not just technology in the teacher's hands, right? Technology in the student's hands. They're going home every day, going into their household with this technology early on a one-to-one iPad, when we're educating parents on this technology as well as our students and our staff at the same time. So when we're talking about technology today, it's really about personalized learning. It's about what are the students doing with technology and talking about passion projects, talking about what interests them. So ultimately, what we're looking to do is, we talk to students is like, how are they using the technology outside of the building to further their passion or their career or what they want to do post graduation?
Yeah, absolutely love that. Superintendent, I'm back over to you now with a question for you. I would like you to give some advice nationwide and inspire other school district leaders such as yourself who we're always trying to better ourselves and protect these students and this community that we all represent. What advice do you have for other school districts and other school district leaders like yourself to deal with perhaps a social media issue that originates on a social media app, let's say TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, all these crazy apps, but creates a very real problem in your community on your campus as superintendent? What would be your advice to others?
I think building those relationships with everybody, students, staff, and parents, is a key piece to all of this. I don't think everyone was truly aware of the marketing point and how social media works. And that has driven a lot of confusion as to, well, who can control something? Who can stop something, right? But if you have that relationship and you start to educate people up front about how to flag a post, how to do certain things, it gives everyone a part of the puzzle in which to deal with any issue that arises.
Well said. Assistant Principal, can you provide some positive examples of maybe how your students have used their social media in a productive way, a positive way to benefit themselves or their community?
Yeah, so one of the easiest ways to kind of demonstrate that is just communication, right? So Friday Night Lights here is a big deal here in Ridley, and our student section comes out to support our student athletes. And so on they'll pick themes, right? They pick themes for every game for their student section, and the way that they communicate and rally the students to the games is to get on social media and do that. And there's actually student leaders who are responsible, and they pass the channel down, whatever the social media, whatever it is that they're using, Instagram, to get that message out there. And they just pass it out. And it happens naturally. We don't really get involved with it. They own it, they do it. And two, sometimes we'll be like, oh, okay, this is the theme for tonight. So we'll show up in the same theme and we're following their lead, which is fantastic. The second piece to that, and is just our school store. So we have a school store here. It is all student run and organized. I love seeing their commercials. I mean, if you go to YouTube, if you're on any social media platform, you're going to see our kids. They just did a St. Patty's Day commercial for their new line, for their spring line, and it's hilarious. And they own it. They produce it, they publish it, and you see them and their parents are going on their social media sites to support them. So it's really great. It builds community.
I love where you're going with this because, as many of the districts that are watching us right now, or parents, teachers, principals, everyone in between, we're all in the same family. I think we all would all agree that now is the time when we're in middle school and high school. Now's the time for our students to try things and fail in a safe area, right? And when you're having them post, not only are they learning from each other and they're saying, well, this is how to use this vehicle, which is we call it a Ferrari. Every phone that we give a teen is really a 200-mile-an-hour Ferrari. Oh, this is how to use this safely to get from point A to point B. There's some guardrails, amazing. And now when I get into college, I know how to manage this device. Absolutely love giving them that responsibility, assistant principal, and letting them have fun with it. And then the adults are having a conversation with students in a young adult manner. Kudos to you. Now, Superintendent, I'm back over to you, and I want to get some suggestions on a national level from you. What suggestions do you have for parents to encourage their kids, their students, their children to use technology in a positive way, both in the classroom and at home?
I look at that from two perspectives. The first perspective is parents need to be a little bit more educated and be willing to go beyond, well, I have a Facebook page, to understand that there are a variety of social media. There are different controls that they as parents can put in place for social media. And the second piece then would be having those conversations with their children, being able to understand that both parent and child are going to work from the same viewpoint as to how social media will be engaged. If I'm going to accept someone as a friend, do I know them personally? Some very basic ground rules, but it also helps when parents educate themselves and take advantage of different resources so that they understand some of the powers to create those positive impacts that social media can have and be able to avoid some of the pitfalls that might come along the way.
Yeah, here's what I'm hearing from you. Number one, always be learning a little bit. For those of you parents here right now, the superintendent is so right. And we hear a lot of negative self talk from parents about themselves. Josh, I've spoken to 250,000 students across the country as I used to be one of the top 5 social media safety speakers. And in the evening events, a lot of parents would say to me, Superintendent, Josh, I'm just not that tech savvy. One of the things, parents, I want you to think about is let's change those words and don't be so hard on yourself. Josh, I'm learning Snapchat. And when we move in that direction, first of all, you are awesome, parents. And second of all, let's talk about where we're going instead of something that might be bad with ourselves. And students will pick up on that. Assistant principal, I want to ask you a question. What suggestions do you have in your school and maybe to other school counselors, assistant principals, and principals? What would you suggest to them for parents to encourage their kids to use technology in a positive way, both in that classroom, because you're on a high school campus all the time, and also at home?
All of our students, right, have cell phones. They all are constantly connected in the classroom, in the hallways, on their way home, at night. And I think it's just being, aware of their use and really understanding why they're using it. It's one of those things where when you have conversations about snacking, like, are you hungry or are you just bored? Well, a lot of the students, it's the same thing. They're bored. They pick up their phone and they start scrolling, and all of a sudden it's 3 hours and they just missed their homework window or they were supposed to study for a test. So it's one of those things of understanding their behavior and also their time and understanding their involvement with whatever social media they're involved in. I think is really, really important. And moving forward with that even more is our job as educators working with parents to have those conversations and setting those guide rails, those guardrails, kind of like, this is the appropriate time to use it. This is when we need your focus and attention, so they can learn how to do that themselves and regulate in post high school.
Yeah, so well said. Superintendent, people are wondering nationwide, what can we do to increase parent engagement? And here's what they're often asking, and I'd love your advice on this. How do we develop a strong dialogue with parents in our community, both in English, in Spanish, in Mandarin, in all the different languages that parents might be dominant in at home? How do we develop, whether it's parent night events or communication through emails or anything else? Superintendent, what are your suggestions for other districts to increase parent engagement?
We really are looking at how many different ways we can engage because that's what we're seeing nowadays, that everyone engages in their own personal preference. So for some people, it may be through our district social media. For others, it's our website. We have a automated system that we can make phone calls and emails to every home. We have a variety of mechanisms that we can do. And we've even started to add YouTube. We have a district YouTube channel. We also now have a playlist just for parents because for some parents, that quick 2-3 minute video might be just what they need, whether it's to understand how to do a particular type of math problem or some other item that we're hoping that parents want to get that information. We've done the in-person invite parents. Anytime that we can get parents together, whether through our home and school associations, having that opportunity to engage with parents every moment, even if it's just a pick up and drop off, taking advantage of all of those moments with a variety of means to get that information out. And, what we found with YouTube, because we can do the closed captioning in different languages, we're taking advantage of the technological resources to get that information out there any way we can so that parents can start to engage with us to have important conversations.
I love that. Here's what I'm hearing from you as well is not only brilliant on the YouTube side with the subtitles, but how do we as educators become better educators? And it's using the tools that we have with subtitles and auto translation. It doesn't mean that those tools are going to take our job. What it does mean to the rest of the superintendents watching is perhaps it'll free up time for our counselors to give those families more love who need it. So the rest of the people can watch it in their native language. Absolutely love that, superintendent. Now, assistant principal, back over to you. I want to ask a tactical and practical question. Are there any specific channels or events that get the biggest turnout that maybe other principals or district leaders should pay attention to?
Parents love online sessions. So I have a lot more participation when we have parent nights via Zoom or whatever it is, because everyone's busy, right? Everyone is squeezing in a million things, and we all have working parents and things and they're driving their children places, and they want to be able to tune in, right? Or the nice thing about this is that if we're using a platform to be able to have a live meeting, we can record it and then post it on YouTube. And so we found a lot of success with engagement by having online meetings. Right now, tonight, for example, we're going to have the college panel here at Ridley High School. We're going to be live broadcasting that as well as recording it and putting it up on the YouTube channel. If parents can't make it, that's fine. They can still access the information. And I think that's so important today. It's just making it accessible.
Really, it also provides more love and attention to every family. Back in the day, we used to all hire a social media safety speaker or some speaker to come in and do this stuff, and only 30 parents would show up. I think I've interviewed 300 superintendents, and they always say, we had this big event. The news came, it was positive, but only a few families came. And every district leader that's listening to this right now, they'll probably agree with this. The 30 families that come are usually the families that don't need it as much. They're the good families. The other ones we need to attend, right, assistant principal? So my next question, and I want to ask this of the superintendent right now. What's your single biggest social media concern for the future?
I think we need to really, as an educational institution, making sure that we're on top of continuing this education piece with students about how to just discern the information that they're gaining through social media, how to be a critical thinker, not just accepting something because it's the algorithms throwing it into their feed, and getting parents to understand that as well. I think that's a concern that I have looking into the future, that making sure people have a sense of what social media really is and what it's doing for you, so that you can make good judgments on decisions that you want to make.
Yeah, I love that. You said for you, and I also was going to say and to you. What is social media doing for you and
I was
to
trying to
you?
be nice. I was trying to be nice there.
Yeah, no, you're totally great, and that's why we love this, and that both of you are here today to have this really nurturing conversation about how we as educators and we as people who are building resilient students can always get better. And I love that you two are so awesome. Assistant principal, what's your biggest social media concern for the future when it comes to parents and students?
Yeah, there's a lot of assumptions made about what students are seeing, right? And what they're engaging in when they're on these social media sites. And certainly the advertisement tricks are not new. They've been around forever. It's just the difference is that they're constantly connected. And so they're constantly getting fed this information, and there's algorithms that are meant just to tailor to what they're viewing and continues to feed that to them. So the awareness, like the mental health aspects, especially when we're talking about adolescents and they're at a crucial age where when we're talking about working with them and their self-awareness and making sure that when we're talking about resilient people, that they know that this is not necessarily real. Like this is could be staged. This is something that was put out there for promotional purposes, and then be cognizant of that. When they're starting to feel a certain way, when they're starting to feel that depression or anxiety kind of set in, it's time to put the phone down. It's time to break away. So that is my biggest concern is making sure that parents and students are aware of what they're viewing and the fact that they're getting fed that constantly, and it's not necessarily a natural kind of way that it's being fed.
I like where both of you are going with this, building a more resilient kid, but also how do they discern the truth from maybe a little bit of a pitch where somebody has an angle to educate them on something. The final question I have for both of you, but before we get to that, a big shout out to my amazing team, the army of research parents at smartsocial.com, keeping kids safe so they can shine online. Our biggest mission is, I just said what that is, keeping kids safe so they can shine online, but it's really to engage parents with information and awareness with our 54 plus events. To all the district leaders out there that are current partners, thank you so much for all the support. As we have different themes for you every single week, you get a little module here and there. There's 450 resources in about a dozen languages so parents can search. And we do believe in the marathon, not the sprint. We believe in the longevity of parents being kind to themselves, but also saying, I'm learning this app. And over the course of a year, they become really good so they can have a richer dialogue with their kids. So thanks to all the school districts and everybody who's been supporting us for the last 11 years. The next question I have for you, Superintendent, is how is your school district approaching AI tools like ChatGPT?
As a district, we've always embraced technology, but we've also, done it in a experience-based way, that we want to make sure that we're not running away from something just because, oh, the kids might cheat. We want to make sure that the technology is sound in terms of where we're going from an educational perspective. So we want to make sure that when we're using any AI tool, whether it's GTP or any other possible permutation that's going to be out there, that we're using it in a way that furthers our educational mission. Students are going to have access to this when they enter their world, their life. So we want to make sure that they have the tools necessary to take full access of it, as well as take full advantage of how this can benefit them in a positive manner.
Yeah, so true. Assistant principal, can you give us some examples of some positive ways that students or teachers or people on your school have used ChatGPT or any other AI tools in a positive way?
So I'll start with myself as an administrator, just productivity. I mean, I probably use it 5 to 6 times within a work day, and it could be a variety of reasons. It just makes life a little bit easier for myself, and certainly saves times. But for students and teachers, so let's talk about teachers for a second. You know, teachers are amazing creators. They're so imaginative, and when they try to create their lessons, they're using ChatGPT or AI as an assistant, right? They might not have the visual tools, like they don't want to necessarily spend a lot of time, illustrating something, but they can go to one of the apps and type in what they want and then they have it, right? And they have the infographic that they want or whatever it is. So they're saving time as well. Or they want a creative way. I saw it used in math where they were trying to come up with a creative math problem utilizing some pop culture and algebra. And they weren't necessarily thinking, and I believe it had Taylor Swift involved. But, it was one of those things where within a minute, they had a full project or problem that they could utilize. And then as far as students, I think it emphasizes the power of language because anything you have to put quality into it to get something out of it, right? So you have to have a basis of knowledge. And what the students are finding is that it's not perfect. And in many cases, their work is actually going to be better than what they're seeing. And they're learning to kind of engage with it in a way that is going to improve their work, also make it a little easier for themselves, but they have to fact check it as they're going. So it's a great experience. We embrace it here. And certainly, we're learning every single day. There's a new AI coming out, right? Or a new integration. So we're constantly learning. I'm sure if you talk to me a couple months from now, we're going to be having a different conversation about something else related to AI.
The only thing that seems to be more popular than AI right now is Taylor Swift,
That-
as you said,
That's
which is
it.
pretty hilarious. And I love it. And really, here's what I also heard for the rest of you district leaders, parents, principals, and everybody in between. We need to stay relevant with the students. And that's why our program, for those of you partners, has teens in it, teens teaching teens. Whatever we can do to stay relevant and current with the students. Please don't be so hard on yourself, parents. If you are saying, I'm not that good at this, let's figure out how to get you good at that. Thank you to the many school districts that are supporting us. And remember that there are lots of ways to engage parents, even if you're missing resources like the district that we're interviewing right now. They're doing a great job. Superintendent, assistant principal, thank you so much for your time today. What both of you are doing is terrific. I'm so honored to have you on here today for this conversation. And for the rest of you who are listening or watching, as the title of my book says, let's always keep it light, bright, and polite, both online and offline, because our students are watching. We'll see you all on the next episode. Have a great day, everyone. Take care. Thanks for listening to our smartsocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Oakes. This was our District Talk segment where we interview school district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media so those students can someday launch into their future by shining online. This episode was brought to you by our smartsocial.com VIP program. It's called the Very Informed Parent Program, which helps you engage your students with teen-led video lessons. Stay one step ahead with our premium parent newsletter and discover hidden features on trending apps on teens' phones and our 54 plus live parent and student-friendly events every single year. You can click on the link below to chat with one of our team members if you want a free pass to our VIP program to support your community with our smartsocial.com resources. And if you're a district leader who has a success story, we would love to feature you on a future episode. You can click the links below to reach out. Thanks so much for listening, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Have a great day.